War drums are echoing louder across Europe, as one of NATO's most crucial nations accelerates preparations for what it fears could become a full-scale confrontation with Russia. Around a dozen high-ranking German military officers quietly gathered in Berlin 2.5 years ago to draw up a classified war plan, according to a detailed report by the Wall Street Journal. Their meeting produced a massive 1,200-page document known as Operation Plan Germany, and this once-secret blueprint is now being urgently pushed into real-world implementation. This military blueprint, codenamed Oplan DEU, lays out in granular detail how NATO forces would conduct a massive, coordinated eastward troop movement across German territory. The plan operates on the assumption that Russia could have the capability and intent to launch an attack on NATO as early as the year 2029, according to multiple intelligence assessments. In the event of a major war, Germany would not serve as the frontline battlefield but instead as a massive logistical hub, responsible for funneling huge numbers of troops and equipment eastward. Oplan DEU spells out how as many as 800,000 German, American, and wider NATO soldiers could be transported toward the eastern flank in a coordinated surge. Military planners warned that because of the geographical barrier posed by the Alps, Germany effectively becomes NATO's only reliable corridor for moving forces eastward. The plan also goes deep into defensive measures, explaining how troop convoys must be shielded from sabotage, drone surveillance, drone attacks, and disruptive cyber strikes. As part of a real-world readiness test, defense giant Rheinmetall constructed a fully operational field camp for 500 soldiers in just 14 days, showcasing rapid deployment capability. However, extensive logistics drills revealed serious vulnerabilities, including shortages of usable land, major traffic bottlenecks, and several choke points that could cripple movement routes. In Hamburg, a major exercise called Red Storm Bravo examined how a 500-strong NATO force would navigate urban terrain and move through a busy modern city. During the drill, convoys became dangerously stretched apart, a single drone sowed confusion among troops, and staged protesters glued themselves to roads to simulate sabotage. Officials concluded that in an actual war, these real-world obstacles could cripple troop movements entirely and potentially derail NATO's rapid response plans. Germany admitted that almost 20% of its highways and roughly one-quarter of its bridges now require urgent repairs after decades of underinvestment. Many Cold War-era emergency runways, hidden fuel depots, and backup military sites were abandoned, unused, and allowed to decay badly over many years. The country has also been hit by dozens of sabotage incidents targeting rail networks and power lines, raising fears about vulnerabilities in critical infrastructure. To counter these weaknesses, Berlin plans to pour more than €160 billion into infrastructure upgrades by 2029, with the bulk of that investment aimed at repairing and expanding its rail system. At the same time, a separate €500 billion defense expansion and even a possible return to nationwide conscription are being openly discussed as long-term readiness measures. Above all, Oplan DEU is intended as a powerful deterrent, a message to Moscow that any attempted attack would be met by overwhelming NATO readiness and would ultimately collapse before it begins.